It's time for the Arizona Cardinals to get back to being proactive and not reactive. What do I mean? Well, I'm going to tell you. Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Cardinals, Alex Clancy here. Follow me on Twitter, Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen, free wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about today. Great stuff with Donnie Druin from Sports Illustrated yesterday. Go check that out. YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts after this one. There was a couple things that were alluded to that I wanted to expound upon today. The Cardinals are slowly building for the future, and I want to explain what I mean by that with concrete terms. And as I start to go down the list, you'll be like, So, yeah, I knew that things were really starting to come into place, but how quickly this roster is forming, it's pretty wild. And not just if this continues, then this will be good. This is happening. This is good, and it will continue. There's a lot more than you'd expect on this roster. I'll discuss that in the third segment. Handling adversity. This is the time. This is one of the things Donnie and I talked about yesterday. It's nice to talk about it. It's nice to say, we'll be prepared. It's nice to say this stung. It's nice to say I hate to lose. All of that. How they handle the adversity, the true adversity, with the highest stakes so far in 2024, will be very telling for the remainder of the season. But first, in my 13 years in sports media here in Phoenix, there's one thing that's irked me about the Arizona Cardinals more than anything else. It's never been go take it. It's been let's chase after it. It's never been let's set a trend. It's always been, look at what the rest of the NFC West teams have done. We need to go do more. It was an arms race in the NFC West for 5 or 6 years there. Late teens, early 20s. And the Cardinals were always far behind. Sure. Traded for DeAndre Hopkins. Sure. Went and got Zach Ertz. Okay, signed James Conner to a 1 year, I think it was $1.25 million deal. Like, it wasn't these huge moves. Some of them worked for the 49ers and Seahawks and Rams, some didn't. Trading for Jalen Ramsey, trading for Matthew Stafford, signing OBJ, signing Allen Robinson when they thought that was the right move after what he showed in Jacksonville and then had no quarterback play in Chicago, and then they thought that was a splash move, which it ended up not being. The Seahawks trading for Jamal Adams, which was a huge splash move that ended up not working. But at the time, without the hindsight, it just looked like the Cardinals were falling behind. And the Rams, how long do you got? They pretty much went and got anybody that they wanted and just bolstered that lineup coupled with good drafts, and they were the powerhouse that seemingly they aren't anymore. And the Cardinals never really did that. It was always just draft players and then sign a couple pieces here, and then realize that Steve Keim wasn't good at drafting players, so then you have to scramble and trade for players to field a competitive roster. So now, the Cardinals are being proactive in the sense that they're following the plan and it's working so far, okay, with Monty Ossenfort. I'm more talking about on the field. What made the Cardinals great for those 4 weeks was they were setting whatever tone they wanted. There was Kyler Murray throwing for over 300 yards and a couple touchdowns, or Kyler Murray being bored because all the Cardinals did was run the ball effectively and score that way. It was whatever they wanted to do, they were doing. And there's one thing. There's a million things that go into that, but being proactive in this specific instance, coming off a two-game losing streak, going into the most important game of the year. This is the playoffs for the Cardinals on Sunday. Is unlocking Kyler Murray to that next level that we saw. If you've listened to this podcast for the last month, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you've listened since I started this in 2016, you'll know what I'm talking about. It takes 1 or 2 plays to get opposing defenses on their heels. I've been preaching this for the entire season. It was the run against the 49ers on the road. It was 1 play, and it was a busted coverage, and Kyler Murray read it right, and he was housing it from the 50. It was the broken play that you don't really count against the Chargers where he hit the edge against a backer and he was gone. It's not the house calls that put opposing defenses on their heels, because those are more outliers. Like a 60-yard run is usually a broken coverage. Sure, Kyler Murray's athletic and he's shifty and elusive, but it's usually a broken coverage. The ones that get opposing defenses frazzled and on their heels are the perfectly timed design runs. It's not the RPOs that Kyler Murray reads properly. It's the bootlegs inside the 5 that Kyler Murray just waltzed into the end zone a few weeks back. It's 3rd and 3, and you run a design run that Kyler Murray takes off for 15 yards. It's the little, oh man, I forgot he could do that because he hasn't done that all game, play calls. And that's the shift from being reactive to giving what defense gives to you to saying, screw that. This is what we're doing. Try and stop it. And that's the biggest difference for the Cardinals the last couple of weeks on offense. They've been taking what the defense has given to them or not had an alternative game plan for when they get Mike Tyson smacked in the mouth like they did in Seattle and they couldn't run the rock. It's like, okay, let's look at this. The Cardinals have Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson. Those 3, on paper, top 10 receiving trio in the NFL, pass catchers. I know Trey McBride's a tight end. Top 10, top 12. If Michael Wilson got more targets, it'd be easily top 10. So, with that, James Conner, obviously the heartbeat of the offense. But maybe being proactive looks like them throwing the ball more right out the gate. And it's not, these big drag routes, 15, 18 yards down the field where the offensive line has to hold for, has to protect for 3.5, 4 seconds. I'm not saying that. Kyler Murray, one of his best attributes is being efficient from, the line of scrimmage to right in front of the sticks. Why not utilize that more? Get Michael Wilson more targets. Like if you told me that Kyler Murray threw the ball 30 times and Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Michael Wilson all got 10 targets, I'd be like, okay, Michael Wilson is so trustworthy at this point that it's almost a fool's errand to not get him more involved. And I know that that's not some sort of incredible thing that came out of nowhere that makes me look like a genius. It's obvious. Whenever the dude gets targets, he catches the rock. It doesn't matter how circus-like the catches look. He comes down with the ball. And maybe being proactive now is not abandoning the run by any stretch. That's the heartbeat. And utilizing the ability to maximize the talent that they have in the pass catching room to yield lighter boxes for the run game to be efficient. It's like, shooting threes to open up the low post game, which up until 15 years ago was the dumbest idea on the planet. And now everybody just trusts Daryl Morey from 15 years ago. And then everybody's looked back in the NBA products of what it is. Anyway, sorry. Utilizing the short passing game as an extension of the run game with the tall, trusted, sure-handed pass catchers the Cardinals have, maybe what the Cardinals need to do to approach Sunday a little bit differently than run the ball, and if it doesn't work, then you go to the pass. Be proactive. Have more of a hybrid offensive game plan and scheme, and keep the opposing defense guessing. That was the calling card of this offense, regardless of if they were winning or not. I mean, take away the Washington game and the Washington game and the Rams game cancel each other out. Go do what you want and make the opposing defenses adjust. And I feel like the Cardinals haven't done that the last couple weeks. They've taken what the defenses give to them. They've been great in between the 20s, but I think it sets a precedence once you get in the red zone of we have no idea what the hell this team's going to do. Because all they've done up until that point is playing jazz music and not the waltz. It's been very, very boxy the last couple weeks, and it makes it easier to determine the play call when you get in your pay dirt. I think that's the biggest thing. Get sexy with it. Who cares? Take chances. They don't take chances. And I'm not even saying down the field. I'm saying, you know what? Run a reverse. Do something to get people off of the metronome of this is what the Cardinals offense is. It's very talented, but they run the ball, then they run play action, then it's Trey McBride, then it's Marvin Harrison Jr., then it's Michael Wilson if nobody else is open. Mix it up. Infuse some chaos. You can infuse chaos with an offense that is talented as this one. They've got to take it to the next level. Otherwise, we're going to be having not as fun conversations at the end of the year. Not like off with their heads, but like they're not making the playoffs, so this offense doesn't figure it out. And by figuring it out, they've got all the tools. They've got all the ingredients. They just got to make something that people aren't allergic to. Locked on Cardinals, your team every day. What was that? It made sense, but it didn't make sense, but it made sense. That's my wheelhouse. Follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked on AZ Cards. How are the Cardinals going to handle adversity? They better figure it out. And this is a bigger picture thing, not just the offense. I'll discuss it next. Locked on Cardinals, your team every day. This episode of Locked on Cardinals is brought to you by Mint Mobile. With big wireless providers, what you see is never what you get. And somewhere between the store and your first month's bill, the price you thought you were paying magically skyrockets. With Mint Mobile, you'll never have to worry about gotchas ever again. With Mint Mobile, it says $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan, and they mean it. Say goodbye to the overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. Mint Mobile is here to rescue with the premium wireless package starting at $15 a month. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts. Ditch overpriced wireless with Mint Mobile's deal and get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. To get the new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/LockedOnNFL. That's mintmobile.com/LockedOnNFL. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/LockedOnNFL. $45 upfront payment required, which is equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. Today's episode of Locked on Cardinals is also brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action, man. Daily fantasy sports made easy. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. You can now win it to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. It's the best way to get action on sports in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. They now offer Venmo for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals into your account this sports season. Sign up today and get $50 when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Download the app. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you place your first $5 lineup. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run, yo, go. Please go to the YouTube channel, search Locked on Arizona Cardinals. Hit that subscribe button, man. We're having fun. This year's been fun. Ups, downs, in-betweens, twisties, upsy downsies. It's been fun. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being a part of the Locked On Cardinals family. Handling adversity. This is something the Cardinals have struggled with as an organization. When things are going well, any NFL team can win any game. It's 2021 all over again. Then when one little pebble gets in the shoe, instead of taking the shoe off, grabbing the pebble and throwing it out, they just run it and just, gash up their foot. Another, just stellar metaphor there. This is where the rubber meets the road. Sunday. Plenty of coach speak is great. Jonathan Gannon is very good at not utilizing just coach speak. It's more Nick Rallis and Drew Petzing that use that. But these guys know what's at stake. These guys know what they preach. These guys know how they prepare the players every week, 4 games on Sunday, and they've come up short, especially offensively, the last 2 weeks, and it can't happen. This is where adversity needs to be handled, and if the Cardinals win on Sunday, the high from the 4-game win streak will immediately return. Because then you see a roadmap that is paved with their own control. Proactive, not reactive. It's kind of a byproduct. This is the biggest form of showing proactiveness. Proactivity, maybe? By winning on Sunday. If they win, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they win 2-0. Doesn't matter. It was the ugliest game on the planet. And the Cardinals win, doesn't matter. If the Cardinals win on Sunday, they have control of the adversity at that point. If they lose, we're having next year, not yet, but we're having, so now 46 things need to happen between week 17 and week 18 for the Cardinals to make the playoffs. That's what I've been used to witnessing with this team. That's fans forever have been used to witnessing with this team. Sports media members and fans alike, like this is what we've witnessed with the Cardinals. It's always, let's hope somebody else doesn't do something so the Cardinals can get in the playoffs. How about flipping it? And there's never so strong. It's been a while since the Cardinals have been in a position where many trust that they will be able to handle adversity. Right? This is the first time in quite some time that all of the dominoes are in place. They have strength in the right positions, from GM all the way down, to be able to overcome a 2-game losing streak coming out of their bye. The 4-game winning streak is, I don't even remember it, and completely right the ship as they look towards the easiest, quote unquote, loosely defined in the NFL, but easiest part of their schedule for the rest of the year, especially with what's happening in San Francisco. They've had the ability the last 2 weeks. I know that that's going to be in the comments. They've had the ability the last 2 weeks to take the reins of it, and they haven't. Okay? That's what's happened. So sure, they've already made it more difficult on themselves than they needed to, but it's not like they got embarrassed the last 2 weeks. And I know that's a green ribbon kind of thing, but they were in both those games. The offense just didn't show up, which is, if it becomes a continuous issue, I promise you I will have conversations about Kyler Murray at the end of the year. I promise you that. Because unlike what some think, I've held people accountable forever. I just never thought Kyler Murray was the main reason why the Cardinals had lost a bunch of games. And I still hold to that. If they win on Sunday, it's not just one game. It's proving that when they're at full strength, which they will be pretty much, and they have to get a game, and they get it, it speaks much more than just one 60-minute game in week 14 of an NFL season, especially with where they are on their growth process. And I don't think I'm overstating that. I don't think the magnitude of this game can be understated. Nope. I don't think the magnitude of this game can be overstated. Nailed it. No edits. # no edits. This is one could argue that this is the most important game of Kyler Murray's career. Because of the positive and potentially negative ramifications of said game on Sunday. It could very well be argued this is the most important game of his career. Well, if he would have won one of the last 2 games, it wouldn't come to this. Yeah, that already hasn't happened. That already didn't happen. This is it. No safety net. We'll see if they can handle adversity. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. Little positivity to round out this episode of Locked On Cardinals. Corbin Smith, Locked On Seahawks. We're doing crossover Thursday tomorrow. Man, there's only a handful of these left, baby. Cherish them while you can. The Cardinals are solidifying things for the future. in pretty rampant fashion. I'll kind of lay it out next. Locked on Cardinals, your team every day. This episode of Locked on Cardinals is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right. I'm going to be a nervous wreck during this game. And it's not because, well, of course, if the Cardinals win, it's better for business, for sure. And it's also better for everybody. Every snap is going to be magnified on Sunday. Everything. The incredible differentiation regarding post-win path and post-loss path. Not just for now, but for next season. You can discuss, not the entirety of it. I mean, you know what I mean. Obviously, it's a new season, but if the Cardinals win on Sunday, they would have, I think it was anywhere from a 65 to 70% chance to make the playoffs, just some metrics, like whatever. But it really puts into perspective how massive this game is. And can we just take a second? And if Aaron Rodgers didn't throw a dumbass pick 6 to Leonard Williams, the Cardinals would be in a much better position, but they're not. Okay, the Cardinals have gotten some bounces. The Cardinals have converted some 4th and shorts to continue drives to win games. Like they've made their own luck. But I mean, they've won some tight games this year. So going into Sunday, if you would have told me that Cardinals are 6-4 going into the bye, Seattle gets a game in Week 12, and they beat the 49ers, and then the Cardinals get out of their bye, and they lose to the Seahawks. And then the Cardinals go to Minnesota, and they lose to Minnesota. And the Seahawks beat the Jets, and they face each other in Week 14. If you told me that all of that happened and the Cardinals still, with a win, would take over control of the NFC West, I would say to get you drug tested. So the fact that the Cardinals still have the ability to do this, even with the downswing and the downturn of the last couple weeks, is incredible. One game, 60 minutes. If they win, they have control of their destiny. New England, Carolina, Rams, 49ers. You couldn't have a better script for a team that was supposed to be a year away with 4 games to play if they win on Sunday. Now, just bigger picture stuff here. Let's just take a second, okay? This isn't praising anybody. This is just the truth. Let's go through, out of 22 starters, who the Cardinals have as set and forget, no doubt about it, starters forever. You know, Kyler Murray, I'll remove Kyler Murray, okay? But Kyler Murray, James Conner. So out of 11, James Conner, Paris Johnson Jr. at the left tackle, Hjalte Froholdt at center, Will Hernandez is hurt, Jonah Williams or Kelvin Beachum. So 3 out of 5 offensive linemen forever. They're going to be there for the next 3 or 4 seasons, you would expect. Trey McBride, tight end 1, forever. Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson, for a very long time. Almost the entire offense is set. And it's not like, oh, let's see if this continues then. Michael Wilson, bona fide wide receiver 2 in this league. He'd be a wide receiver 2 anywhere else. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be a stud. Trey McBride is the best tight end in the NFL, or whatever, top 3. I'm not going to argue with that. Defense, and this was the big question mark. Let's start with the ones, with the players that were question marks or that were on the precipice of but became the set and forget pillars of on defense. Garrett Williams, set and forget. Forever. CB1. Kyzir White, Mack Wilson. Kyzir White's going to get an extension this offseason. Mack Wilson will get an extension next offseason. They figured it out in the heartbeat middle of this defense. They figured it out. Budda Baker, set and forget, naturally. And then with the combination of Jalen Thompson and Daedrian Taylor Demerson, you're pretty much there. And then the pass rush is the big question mark. We'll see what happens with Darius Robinson. Bijou Ojulari is coming back. They're going to have a whole bunch of money to spend. But if you look at that, 16 of the 22, 15 of the 22 in a rebuild year where next year everything was supposed to be put together, that's pretty damn good. And it was all organic. Very, very low impact signings. I knew when they signed Kyzir White last offseason, I'm like, oh, they just stole Kyzir White. They just stole him. And Mack Wilson, same thing. It's like, yeah, Patriots have been terrible. It's hard to produce when your offense had me at quarterback. And they found something. So when you look at that, and then you look at how much money they have to spend, and you look at all of the draft picks that they have, this truly, right now, could be the worst roster this team has for the next 5 to 7 years, if not longer. That is a true and realistic measuring stick. And that's say that, they bring back Budda Baker, and Jonah Williams works out on the right side. Like, there are a couple like, well, maybe not, but for sure, Paris Johnson Jr., for sure, Hjalte Froholdt. Hjalte Froholdt's going to retire in Arizona Cardinals. Ain't no way they're letting him get out of State Farm Stadium. So even with that, you're looking at 14 out of 22 guys in a rebuild year with one offseason to make it 18. Pretty good. Doesn't really matter if they lose on Sunday, or it matters less if they lose on Sunday. But all in all, through 13 weeks, it hasn't been perfect. It hasn't been pretty a lot of times. But when it's been good, it's been great. And we haven't seen great since the beginning of 2021 when I knew it was a Ponzi scheme to begin with. This is what building looks like in real time. And it's been fantastic to witness. I don't understand why there's so many people screaming for the heads of the coaches and the quarterback and the play. Be different. Appreciate what's happening. I'm sorry that Cardinals fandom has been terrorizing. It's been awful for pretty much the entirety of its existence. Don't blame the present because of the past. Yeah. I don't think I'll say anything smarter than that today. So I'm just going to wrap this baby up. Crossover Thursday with Corbin Smith of Locked on Seahawks. Tomorrow, Alex Clancy, Locked on Cardinals. Remember, without you, there is no me. I'll talk to you tomorrow.